Right now, we're looking at heretical texts, and I am reading Saint Irenaeus against Heresies, which is I just started, and this is just like very profound stuff here. Like the whole point of me doing this is because I just want to document my journey as I'm reading through a lot of this stuff. So I'm not here to clarify, make any dogmatic statements, to speak on something, to even be a scholar, none of that stuff. I just want to journal my progress because it helps me to keep the information and the content inside of my brain. And if you want to follow along, you can follow along. So with that being said, I want to start. We're at chapter 1. And of course, I've already read through a couple pages, right? This is some of the stuff that's just been getting me. The pro-arc, like I know in a lot of Orthodox tradition, they consider the Father the arche, the unbegotten. And so we have here eons. I still got to figure out how to pronounce that. But the one that's up top is called the proarche, right? The first beginning, sometimes propater, the first father, the first one, not the second, the third, but the Valentinians at the time maybe had multiple fathers. So this one is called Bythos, the deep. And he is invisible, incomprehensible, taking the idea of the wind like the Holy Spirit. He is invisible, but present and there and available, but he can't be comprehended by mere reasoning and logic, hence incomprehensible. And so if you notice, it says something very unique. It says eternal, also, and unbegotten. Like that should give any Christian a pause if you claim there is a being that's unbegotten, that's not in a Christian framework, and at the time they are borrowing language from the Torah. They have to. A God that's eternal and unbegotten, that has no beginning, but there at the beginning. That is unbegotten. He was not created, he was not made, right? And this unbegotten first father, he abode in great tranquility and calm throughout boundless ages. Now, what I found interesting, like that paragraph alone was already like a boof. But it claimed that Bythos as the first father was the deep. The deep. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And so we come back to this language of the Spirit hovering over the surface of the deep. But here, the deep is claimed to be the first father. That is the deep. Then he gets strange, that there exists with him also thought, the same who they likewise denominate grace and silence. So then the Father is with his own thoughts at some unknown time. So now there's a temporal measure in what's going on here. They don't really know how to explain it. So it was an unknown time, that, in other words, that the Father one day was like, you know what? And like that's how the universe occurred. Like to put forth himself what should be the beginning of all things. And that this which he was minded to put forth, being as it were seed, he deposited as in a womb with the partner of his being, silence. So it never says how grace and silence came into existence within the first couple of pages. He deposited as in a room with the partner of his being, silence. Where did silence come from? Silence was just a partner. And that's where grace started. Grace, there, in other words, there wasn't even a cause for grace. Grace was just there already, which to me kind of dismantles the entire aeon demiurge scenario, because grace was abode since pre-existence. But it says that having received the seed and become pregnant, brought forth mind. So Bythos, within his own thoughts, whether it's his grace and his silence, he was lonely. That's what I'm getting from this. that from that he brought forth mind. In other words, we're getting reason, the constituents of reasoning, who is similar to him that begat him. So similar. This is what unbegotten and begotten is, right? Who is similar to him that begat him. So it's right there. And alone comprehendeth the greatness of his Father, to which mind they also gave the name only begotten, and Father and principle of all things, in that there was produced together with him truth. So we have mind, we have truth, we have Bythos, we have his lovely partner, and apparently male and female. It won't tell you here that male and female was even created, but male and female's right there. Even if you want to go back to the whole there's no binary gender, well, what the Valentinians taught, that everything was a procreation of male and female, of ontological inception. There was male and female here, which is, again, crazy, right? This was the first in Aboriginal quaternion of Pythagoras, which also they styled the root of all things, namely the deep and silence, and after them mind and truth. Deep being the male, silence being the female, mind being the male, truth being the female. Because this is going to happen a couple more times. Further, that the only begotten, having become aware of the purposes for which he was produced, which we don't really know if that has a temporal meaning or not, did himself also produce the word and the life. Now, as you see here, the word doesn't even have the definition of the word. So the word is not even the thing that speaks things into existence here. So the word doesn't carry and govern the laws of the existence. It was something that was produced because everything still flows from the first Father, and is the first Father that gave existence to everything. Talking about Valentinians here. Bythos too put forth from himself what should be a beginning of all things. So it wasn't the word, it was Bythos that eventually produced the word and the life after he produced mind and truth, thus becoming the Father of all who should be after him, and the principle and formative power of the whole Pleroma. So now we're getting some context. So we got Bythos in the deep, then we got truth and mind, then we got the word and the life. Crazy enough, this is trying to parallel Jesus and the Spirit. So we have the proarche, and then we have an arche or subarche, which is the word paralleling to Jesus, and life paralleling to the Spirit, because the word here is the Father of all who should be after him, and the principle and formative power of the whole Pleroma. That sounds an awful like Arianism. We're starting to see the grassroots. The Father came first, and then afterwards was the Word, the Logos. That the Logos was created by the Word. And here, there's actually a step right before that. You got the Bythos and the deep, and then you have mind and truth. So you have logical faculties and reasoning that brought forth the word, which actually speaks into existence. So we have before existence to pre-existence, then to existence. And after that, just as in marriage, first time we get the word marriage. So we know male and female, but now we also get clarification on the joining of these two powers and concepts, which is male and female. Those two come together and make the man and the church. Funny how they do that.